So do you guys have any, like, I'm asking this knowing at least one person has a really funny answer because I know they do. Do you guys have any like reactions to extreme emotion that sometimes surprise people?
Me. When I saw this question, I was like, oh, I love this one. So I have this thing, and I've always had it since I was a kid, where if I get really excited or nervous to a certain point, I will throw up. So it was really tough for me, because I was a professional singer. So every show almost, I would have a trash can ready and barf and walk on stage. And it would just be like, I'm not gonna let it stop me. But it's something that I have had to deal with. For instance, when I was dating, before I met Matt, I would get really nervous right before going in to meet whoever I was on the date with. So I would have like mouthwash and a cup to throw up in my car because it was like, okay, puke, mouthwash, ready for the date. All right, let's go. And then once I would get it out, usually I would be okay. But I think it's just really unfortunate because I feel like my throat closes up and yeah, it's not like I can hide it, especially with that. But yeah, so that's my unfortunate reaction. And oddly enough, I thought I was gonna have to throw up before this, but I feel super comfortable being around so many other people like myself that I haven't wanted to, not even once. So surprising.
Maybe it's that we've been addressing it so much too. Like I keep being like, are you gonna barf?
Yeah, yeah. I just gave a presentation, and there was almost like 60 people a couple days ago for the for AA&E, and I had to step away because it was like I was like I was so nervous. But then once I took a breath, I came back, So I'm really, I'm happy that's not happening right now.
Anyone else have just, yes, extreme reactions to, or reactions to extreme?
When I see people cry, I run. I physically run when I see people cry. So people think that's kind of rude, but I don't know. My body just does it. I don't do it.
That's relatable, I think, because the thing I'll do, not crying, but it's like if I'll walk into a room or a situation is happening that doesn't make sense or is illogical, my brain is like, nope, and I'll just turn around and walk out. Like I don't even know I'm doing it. I'm like, this is not right. I'll just pivot. My partner has been like, what on earth just happened? I was like, I just didn't understand what I saw. I was like, nope, bail. This not compute. Just like, or smells, like the same thing, like smells I'll run away from, like I will run. I've got a sensitive stomach too, but the anxiety doesn't get my stomach so much as my armpits, like the sweating profusely. That it used to get my stomach more, but the armpits, that's the first thing that gets me, in those sweaty hands. Fun, glamorous, right?
So glamorous. This is Lauren Melissa, and I just wanted to say that whenever I face extreme situations, I'm going to be completely honest, I can get really angry and respond with like, I just flare up, and I think it's honestly a cover up for fear. And so I fall into that angry space, and I used to have meltdowns 3 to 4 times a week, but ever since I was diagnosed with autism and able to kind of see what was going on and follow my trigger maps, I've been able to like curtail that. And now I can see like the anger flare up. I feel it right away, and I know like, okay, it's time to practice some self-care. And so that's probably one of my biggest reactions, is definitely anger. I know I'm like, I'm an angry person. Like I'm like really cheery, but yeah, I can definitely, you see it in my face. Like I'll just be like, and then like have to walk away.
I feel like that's totally relatable, and especially like I definitely don't often get I'm a very cheery person, but but I do get from people like I'm a very like I seem very grounded, very like okay, but that it's like, so I think it does surprise people, or when that happens to me too, like, or it at least makes people I can tell it's like, yeah, it's like can be shocking. But also, like you said, this is also relatable. Before I knew I was autistic, it happened all the time. Like, because I didn't know what my boundaries were. I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't never knew what was bothering me. It's like how you said just now that like being able to trace back to the trigger. That's like the perfect way to say that, because that's exactly like, I know that the sound of people doing dishes is going to like not put me in a good state. So like I used to feel like I had to deal with it, you know. Now I feel like I can remove myself from the situation, like go into another room. If I can't go into another room, ask the person to do it later. I could do it myself because that noise doesn't seem to bother me. But yeah, I feel like that's really important. With really severe stress, I've actually talked to Tiffany from Nye Functioning about this. I also have seizures, and like right before, like the same time the big, like I had this huge seizure from, and I was told it was from stress, yeah, and it was like a big unconscious seizure. I'd just been going through a really hard time. It was like clearly I was super burnt out, and then months later, I realized I was autistic, and I keep hearing so many stories about like all these health things adults go through before realizing they're autistic from burnout, and it's been really relatable. Yeah.
That is exactly the story of my life. It's like I realized like all my life I had these seizures and that they couldn't figure out what was going on, because it's like sometimes when you get seizures, like you get nauseous and sick to your stomach afterwards, or if you get like where it messes with your like sense of like balance, and it can make you spinny and you get spinny and then you can throw up and get sick. And so the doctors were only worried about like the stomach stuff. And like for so many years I didn't understand I was having these partial seizures, and they came back when I started to get burnt out from the workplace. And I figured out that I cannot have seizures if I avoid fluorescent light, and I have a regular sleep schedule, and I get enough sleep, and I avoid having too much caffeine, and I don't get a lot of alcohol. You know, I like avoid all these things that people who know they have seizures kind of learn that they have to limit, but like I was never treating it that way. And then it was like stress is such a big thing that I eliminated in my life, like change my job, change everything around to get all of that under control. Like the last time I had a seizure was when I was really stressed, and I had not gotten enough sleep and had to get up really early to go be somewhere, and I had a seizure on the way somewhere. You know, that's been a couple of years now. Yes, it's been I think 2 years almost. It'll be 2 years in August since I've had a seizure, but it's like, ooh, that can come back at any minute if I don't take care of myself. And it's like a very real and terrifying possibility, because it got so bad when I was like 11 or so. The first, burning out at 11, and when it's kids, they say it's regressing, right? A lot of times, but it's the same thing, this burnout. And it was like, I'm 11, and I'm like, I was so sick. It was like, I couldn't even have a life. Like the school's like, you must go to school because this is happening too regularly. So like I'm at school at my desk, like laying on the floor in the middle of the classroom, like next to a trash can, puking in front of everyone. Like it's horrible, because they needed me to go to the neurotypical systems and do everything like everyone else. And like it's like literally making myself sick to live up to neurotypical expectations. And that's like so many autistic and neurodivergent people are doing the same thing. We are making ourselves physically and mentally ill just to go through the same systems that everyone else is going through, instead of fixing the broken systems.
Yeah, that's so real.
T was going to say that. Sorry.
Oh, go please.
I was just going to say T was going to say that reaction that they have is running from physical affection.